So here's a question for you. How do you get a kid who's basically grown up on TikTok to actually care about a book that was written like 150 years ago? Well, today we're going to break down a really fascinating new blueprint that does exactly that. It's all about turning these old classic stories into a launchpad for skills that kids need today.
And really, this is the big question, isn't it? For parents, for educators, for all of us. I mean, we live in a world of tablets and just endless scrolling. So how on earth do you make these, dusty old books feel exciting and relevant to a generation that's literally never known a world without the internet?
All right, so here's how we're going to tackle this. We're diving into a series of modern literature guides to see how they pull this off. First, we'll look at the core challenge. Then, we'll break down this brilliant 3-act lesson plan they use. After that, we'll see how they're bringing AI into the classroom. Yes, AI. And finally, we'll wrap up with how this idea of learning by creating is really the secret sauce that makes everything stick.
Okay, so Section 1, the challenge. The whole method we're looking at today comes from these teaching guides for classic stories. Stuff like The Prince and the Pauper or The Hare and the Tortoise. But here's the kicker. These are designed for really young learners. We're talking first, second, third graders, 6 to 8-year-olds. That's the challenge right there.
All right, so let's get into the good stuff. The 3-act lesson plan. This is where we discover the blueprint. At the very heart of this entire method is this super simple but incredibly powerful 3-act structure. Think of it as the engine that drives every single lesson plan, no matter the story.
So here's how it works. It's pretty straightforward. Act 1 happens before they even read a word. It's all about getting them hooked, sparking their curiosity, making predictions. Act 2 is during the reading. It's about making sure they actually get it, basic comprehension. But then, Act 3. This is after they've read, and this is where the real magic happens. It's all about reflecting on the story and then creating something to lock in that learning.
And what's so brilliant about this is just how flexible this simple blueprint is. You can see it right here. For the older kids reading The Prince and the Pauper, that before reading activity is a big discussion about what it's like to be a prince versus a pauper. But for the little ones reading The Hare and the Tortoise, it's as simple as talking about what the word boasting means. See? The core structure is exactly the same, which just goes to show how powerful and adaptable it is.
Okay, but that 3-act structure, that's really just the foundation. The next layer is where things get, very 21st century. This is where we see how this whole method embraces a toolkit that you might not expect.
Yep, you're seeing that right. We're talking ChatGPT, Canva, comic book makers like Pixton, even YouTube. These guides are integrating modern digital tools right into the lessons. And let's be clear, this isn't about just sticking a kid in front of a screen. No way. These tools are for active stuff, research, brainstorming, and actually creating things.
I mean, look at this. This is a direct instruction from the guide for The Prince and the Pauper. It says, use AI to help you understand what social class means in simple terms. It's not just giving them a boring definition. It's empowering them to use AI as a partner, as a tool, to figure out a really complex idea. It's teaching them how to learn, not just what to learn. And this shift it's just huge. Think about it. The traditional way is go look up a word in the dictionary, right? This new method says use ChatGPT to find images of a palace and a slum from that time. All of a sudden, a 7-year-old can see the difference. It's not an abstract idea anymore. The story's whole theme of inequality becomes real, tangible, something they can actually grasp.
So you might be wondering, okay, how do you even grade this? How is all this learning measured? Well, I can tell you it is not with a bubble sheet or a multiple choice test. The focus here is 100% on application and, you guessed it, creation.
This idea that assessment is creation is really the engine of the whole thing. The final test on a chapter or the entire book, it's not a test at all. It's a project. It's a chance for these kids to pull together everything they've learned and show their understanding in a way that's creative and real. And the range of these projects is just fantastic. They might make a Venn diagram to compare characters, or write an advice letter from one character to another. Maybe they design a campaign poster about the book's life lessons, or even a comic strip of a key scene. And let's be real, this isn't just arts and crafts time. These projects demand serious critical thinking, a ton of empathy, and real-deal communication skills.
Okay, so let's pull all these threads together now. What's the big picture here? What's the real impact of mashing up these timeless classic stories with these super modern teaching techniques?
Well, when you get right down to it, this whole teaching blueprint, it isn't really just about teaching literature.
It's designed to build 4 absolutely foundational 21st century skills all at the same time.
Think of it this way. The classic story is just the vehicle. The real destination is building these 4 core skills. You get critical thinking from comparing characters. You get digital literacy from using those AI tools. You get empathy from doing the role-playing. And of course, you get creativity from all the project-based work. It's a complete package.
You know, at their heart, so many of these classic stories are basically fables, right? Short stories with a moral lesson. And by completely modernizing the delivery system, this method makes sure that those timeless lessons about fairness, kindness, hard work, they don't just get heard, they get understood. They get internalized by a whole new generation. So what does this all teach us about the future of education? Well, maybe it's that the future isn't about having to choose between old books and new skills. It's about understanding that any great story, no matter how old it is, can be a powerful platform for building the exact skills our kids need to thrive in the world, right here, right now.